The Galactic Academy floated silently in the vastness of space, its spires gleaming against a backdrop of swirling nebulae. Inside, a kaleidoscope of alien species thrived, each more extraordinary than the last. The Academy was renowned for bringing together the best and brightest from across the galaxy, a melting pot of cultures, technologies, and philosophies. Among the towering beings with scales, tentacles, and bioluminescent skin walked Lina, a lone, fragile human girl, dwarfed by the grandeur around her. Lina adjusted her backpack, trying to ignore the weight of countless eyes on her. She wasn't just any student. She was the first human to attend this school. Her selection was heralded as a monumental step for humanity's entry into the galactic community. Yet, as she navigated the polished corridors, she didn't feel like an ambassador. She felt small, out of place, and painfully aware of her differences. Primitive, she heard someone whisper in a language her translator implant quickly rendered into English. A group of 3 aliens, their tall forms shimmering with metallic exoskeletons, glanced her way and chuckled. Their leader, Zork, a spindly creature with pulsating tentacles and glowing slit-pupil eyes, smirked as he caught her gaze. "Is that what humans look like?" Zork mused aloud, his voice laced with mockery. "So soft, so vulnerable." Lina clenched her fists but said nothing. She had learned quickly that reacting would only fuel their taunts. Instead, she kept walking, her head slightly bowed, her steps determined but heavy. Inside, however, she could feel her frustration bubbling. She had known this would be hard. Humanity's reputation as a young, backward species was widespread, and she'd been told she'd need to prove her worth. But knowing that hadn't made it any easier. Her first day of classes was a blur of advanced technology and alien customs. The science lab alone had equipment so far beyond Earth's capabilities that it made her head spin. Yet, every time Lina asked a question or contributed an answer, the ridicule followed. "Fascinating," Zork drawled during one class. "The human still uses her voice to communicate. How quaint." The other students laughed, a strange cacophony of clicks, roars, and hums. Lina's cheeks burned, but she forced herself to focus on the instructor's lecture. By the time lunch arrived, Lina felt drained. She found an empty corner of the vast dining hall and sat down with her tray, avoiding the judgmental glances thrown her way. The alien food in front of her smelled strange but edible, and she began to eat in silence. "That's the human," a voice murmured nearby, followed by another snicker. Lina glanced up to see a pair of reptilian students whispering while pointing at her. She dropped her gaze again, her appetite fading. Her isolation felt suffocating. It wasn't just the words or the stares. It was the overwhelming sense of being an outsider in a world that didn't want her. But beneath her self-doubt lay a flicker of determination. This was her chance to represent humanity, to show the galaxy what her people were capable of. She couldn't let the likes of Zork or anyone else define her. As the day ended, Lina sat on her bunk in the dormitory, staring out the small window at the endless expanse of stars. Her parents' voices echoed in her mind, encouraging her to be brave, to persevere. She took a deep breath, her resolve hardening. "They don't know me," she whispered to herself. "Not yet." The room was silent after Lina's defiant words, her steady gaze locking onto Zork's. He hesitated, but his ego wouldn't let him back down. With a flick of his tentacles, he sneered. "Bold words, human. Let's see if you can back them up." The other students murmured in anticipation, curious to see what Lina could possibly do against someone as formidable as Zork. Zork extended his telepathic reach, a wave of energy that pressed against Lina's mind like a suffocating weight. This was his strength, the ability to extract thoughts, feelings, and memories at will, bending them to his advantage. He had humiliated countless opponents this way, breaking their confidence by exposing their innermost fears. But as he probed, expecting easy access, he was met with resistance. Lina closed her eyes and focused, her breathing deliberate. She had prepared for this. During her sleepless nights in the academy, she had researched techniques to guard her mind against telepathic intrusions. Human psychology wasn't advanced compared to other species, but it had its strengths: discipline, meditation, and the ability to compartmentalize thoughts. Zork's energy pressed harder, but Lina's mental barriers held firm. "What is this?" Zork muttered, his confidence wavering. He intensified his effort, but Lina stood her ground, her expression unyielding. The other students watched in stunned silence. This wasn't supposed to happen. No one resisted Zork's telepathy. "You assumed I'd let you in," Lina said, her voice calm but cutting. "You think humans are simple, easy to manipulate. But you don't understand us. You don't understand me." Lina seized the moment, turning the tables. Using the knowledge she'd gained about Zork's species, she launched into a precise critique. "You rely on your telepathy because it's easy, because it's what you've always done. But it's also your weakness. You don't know how to think outside of it. You don't adapt. You've never had to struggle the way humans do every single day." Her words hit harder than Zork expected. He faltered, his tentacles twitching with uncertainty. Lina pressed on, her voice rising with conviction. "Humans don't just survive adversity. We grow stronger because of it. Every fear, every failure, every setback, we turn them into fuel. You mock my emotions, but they're what give me strength. You'll never understand that because you've never had to fight for anything." Zork took a step back, his confidence unraveling as the weight of her words sank in. The room felt charged, the dynamics shifting with every sentence she spoke. The other students who had once laughed at her now watched her with a mixture of awe and unease. She had stood against one of the most powerful beings in the room and held her ground. Lina's gaze swept across the class, addressing not just Zork but everyone who had doubted her. "You all think humans are weak because we're new, because we're small. But we've reached the stars with nothing but determination and ingenuity. We've fought for every step forward. That's something none of you can take away from me." The silence that followed was deafening. Zork lowered his gaze, the weight of his defeat palpable. He had underestimated her, and now he regretted it. The balance of power had shifted, and for the first time, Lina stood tall, commanding the respect of the room.